everybody for being here. As you know, we're here to mark the second year since Marvin Henry's wrongful handcuffing right there outside the Starbucks. And so I'm going to invite Reverend Katie to get us started with some opening words.
Good morning, everyone. Please join me in this spirit. Spirit of life, God understood by many names, the love greater than all of us that sustains us for the hard work ahead to bend the arc of the moral universe toward justice. May our commitment to this long haul work stay strong, and may we inspire others, especially our elected officials and public servants, to join us. Blessed be, and amen.
Thank you, Reverend Katie. My name is Smriti Rao, and I'm a contributor to Equal Justice in Needham's Public Safety Working Group. I am, again, here to remind everybody a little bit about the events that have led us to this point. As we know, Mr. Marvin Henry was wrongfully handcuffed outside that Starbucks around 3:15 about 2 years ago. And, you know, slowly, when he came forward in the summer of 2020, inspired by the Black Lives Matter movement and the national outrage against the killing and murder of George Floyd, all of us, you know, participated in those marches about Black Lives Mattering. And, you know, that inspired him to come forward and report what had happened to him to the town, because until then he had not heard back from our Needham Police and was expecting any day a summons in the mail. And slowly, you know, disturbing details about what happened to him on that day, but also what happened in the 3 days following, as the Needham Police Department tried to work really hard to prove him guilty in the face of overwhelming evidence that he was innocent. Right? We learned about this not through the department's own internal affairs investigation, which basically concluded that there was no wrongdoing committed, but rather through an independent report our town had to pay for, which revealed multiple serious policy violations, and also importantly stressed the concern the investigators felt around the attitude of no harm, no foul. I'm quoting from the report that they sort of encountered, which they felt pointed to a culture that minimized the seriousness of what happened to Mr. Henry, and was dangerous in that, of course, without acknowledging what we have done wrong, we really cannot address and fix those problems completely. And so I think what Mr. Henry has always been asking for is that acknowledgement that wrong was done to him, that policies were violated, right? And therefore, you know, the systemic reform that we need to address that larger culture can begin to take hold.
I had a gift certificate from Christmas to get a massage. And so I called and made an appointment, and that is where I met Mr. Henry. Marvin and I met as he gave me a massage, and I was sharing with him a little bit about some of the things that I had been working on. And he asked me, can I share something that happened to me? And I said, of course. And I listened to his story of what the trauma that happened to him right there. He wept. And as he cried, he said, what did I do wrong? What is wrong with me? What did I do? I was wearing a nice sweater. Nothing is wrong with Marvin. And that is what I shared with him through our tears. Nothing is wrong with you, Mr. Henry. Nothing is wrong with Black people. What is wrong is white supremacy. What is wrong is the racism that it embeds in us and embeds in our systems, in our institutions, that we must change.
My activism club, along with the Black Student Union, are working on a letter to the Needham Police Department and the Needham Select Board, which I'm going to read some excerpts from now. Dear Select Board and Police Department, Needham High School's Social and Political Activism Club has partnered with the Black Student Union to construct the following letter. We, the students, consider the improvement of policing rules and regulations an issue of utmost importance. The school resource officers interact with students daily, and frequent police-student interactions occur outside of school. We have a communal obligation as members of this community to advocate for equality, fairness, and justice in all government institutions. As leaders within the Needham High School community, we want to specifically emphasize the need for an oversight body that would work directly to combat racial inequities, enhance training in de-escalation, bias, and mental health, and maintain quality data collection.
People of color have just had a very different experience in this town, and we just need to be cognizant of it. My teenage sons are mixed race, but they present as white, but they have seen with their friends of color today treated very, very differently. When they're with police, they're going to be more likely to be stopped, asked where they're going, what are they doing, why are they here? That happens. It doesn't have to happen.
Our town has, as Smriti was saying, taken some important steps. The NPD has hired a data analyst, and some data regarding race and policing has been shared publicly. A public safety report later this spring has been promised to provide data and analysis. And the chief of police has engaged with residents, and anti-bias training has been extended to all police officers. We hope that these steps will be sustained over the long term. Nevertheless, 2 years later, what we have not seen are the kinds of systemic reforms that Mr. Henry's lawsuit calls for, and that other towns in Massachusetts have been bold enough to move forward on. This past summer, our select board unfortunately voted down 3-2 a proposal to conduct a full and exhaustive independent expert review of all NPD policies and practices in order to benchmark them against best practices. They based this on a decision to wait until the post commission is rolled out later this year, even though post commissioners themselves are very clear that their work cannot substitute for the governance responsibilities of local authorities, and that local town governments can indeed go well beyond the basic minimums that the post commission proposes. We do hope the new select board will recognize the need for such a review. As Vijay noted, we also seek the establishment of a Citizens Public Safety Committee in Needham to engage more deeply and directly with how to reimagine public safety in Needham. As part of that reimagining, we believe that Needham should join Amherst, Northampton, and Lynn, amongst other towns, in seriously considering alternative, unarmed first responder services to respond to the mental and behavioral health crises that are becoming an increasing share of emergencies in Needham. It's up to us to urge our government to do the hard and difficult work of creating a Needham that is safe and welcoming for all.
I'm here as a citizen, as a member of our community, and being here with all of you and all the work that you've done to in part help move this town forward is greatly appreciated. And the concerns that so many of us have as people of color, as a black man in the town that we live in the world that we live in the state that we live in, is always warranted. And you don't want it to be that way. Growing up a black man in this world, when it comes to certain situations, worrying about where you are, worrying about what you're doing, what you say, what you're seen as, are things that kind of innately become a part of who you are as you grow up. But I know there's progress being made. But aspirationally, I want to get to a time in a moment where I can say I'm 100% proud of everything we do from a diversity, equity, and inclusive process in the town of Needham. And I'm gonna do my best along with other people to make sure that we get there and we get to see that day. So thank you all for being here.
Mishaberach Avotenu v'Imotenu, may the spirit of life who blessed our ancestors bless all of us. Bless us with the strength to continue our efforts to make Needham a welcoming place for all. May we continue to hold ourselves and our leaders accountable and build relationships that enable us to continue to hold the hard conversations, the necessary conversations that lead to change. Amen.
Thanks, Marvin.
I'm doing all right.
Thanks, Marvin.
I'm doing all